You're going to feel a need to say, have you heard about nug sex?
Nugget sex?
But you know how you could blame it? Just say, I heard somebody.
I was told.
Somebody said. Okay, so we're recording.
Okay.
You could introduce yourself.
My name is Steve. I have a mouthful of hot cookies. Okay, my name is Steve. I just want to edit that part out. I'm Steve.
You're Steve.
Steve Boland. He isn't boy, O-L-A-N-D.
Okay.
Is that what I was just to say?
Just put it a little closer. Yeah.
My name is Steve.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so check this out. Today, I was getting my tire changed.
Yes.
And I'm talking to the guy at the repair place, and he told me, so he's telling me about otters, daddies, and twinks and bears.
Okay.
And he was asking me if I'm a bear, and I said, nah. I said, look at me. I said, you think I'm a bear? I said, and what are you talking to me about? I said, this is me talking to you about teaching you Spanish. He goes, listen, he goes, this is what he said. He goes, well, have you heard about this new porn that you watch that if you watch it, it turns you into a tranny?
What?
And I said, are you out of your fucking mind? I said, I'm going to tell you now, do not ever repeat that to anybody. He said, yeah, it's called sissy porn.
Sissy porn. Okay.
Is that the stupid? I mean, I said, there is no porn that you watch that you turn into a tranny when you're watching it. I talk about gay panic. Now it's like tranny panic. That this is something down south they're worried about. That this has gone like, yeah, right. It's something you saw on Fox News. That there's this that if you watch it, you turn into a tranny. I found what the. How does that like occur? Like you find your nails getting longer? I mean, your footwear becomes. Anyway.
Okay, so that was a good intro of who you are.
Right. That happened to me today.
Today, okay. So let's start let's introduce. I know I struggle with this podcast. So let's introduce your business, because you wanted to talk about
the reliquary.
Right. So let's get into Holy Grounds.
Right. So I own a shop, a coffee shop in East LA called Holy Grounds. Not East LA. Well, it's on the east side, but it's in El Serrano.
Yeah, Northeast LA.
Nila. Right.
Yeah.
I've lived here 20 years.
Okay.
So I was one of the first white people in the neighborhood. It's all my fault.
Congrats.
I brought them in. People would come into the coffee shop.
You started gentrification.
People would come in and ask me, and they would think they're being very discreet. So, are there more of you coming? And I'm like, yes, I was sent on to do recon. And it seems to be safe. But I can tell you this observationally. I remember when at Home Depot, I was the only white guy at Home Depot for a long time.
Okay.
And that was, because it was weird. When I would see another white guy in Home Depot, you notice it. And I've heard that other people tell me that if you're a minority, like if you're black, and there's another black person in the store, you're just conscious, you're aware of it.
Yeah.
And it's true as a white guy. I would notice if there was another white guy in the
Home Depot.
And I'll tell you something very odd too.
Right.
A lot of times they look like and I would say, oh, another white guy with white hair. And I would go, oh, we all look alike. And I could see where it's like, there's a guy at Costco that looks just like me. He's got white, and he's the only white guy that works there. And okay, this is a true story. Okay. I used to work for a nonprofit downtown. There was 300 people there, and it was a child care situation. It was mostly women, and it was a lot of women of color. There was only 2 white guys that worked in the entire place. Me, as a program director for School Age Youth Services, and then there was a guy who worked as the CFO. People, if I had to go to a meeting and if I couldn't go, I would just send Dave, and people would not notice if it was, we could interact and nobody would know if it was somebody from the agency had attended the meeting, and they just knew that it was either me, and it wasn't me, it was Dave, or if Dave had the meeting, it was me. So there was always free lunches, so you would go to get the free lunch.
Okay, so let's talk about Holy Grounds. Let's go back a little bit to Holy Grounds.
We could own this. Yeah. I am a poster child for ADHD.
Oh, perfect. Right.
So this is a real stream of consciousness.
Yes.
This is not going to be linear at all.
It doesn't have to be.
Got it. When you met me, you knew.
I knew what I was getting into when I met you the first day. But you know what? I'm so curious to know just about the business that I am going to go back to it. But you can go ahead and go into your
I just want to talk about that reliquary piece because it was something. Because I'll forget about it. That's why I just wanted to. So when I was showing it to you, so I just even said it was going to be linear, but okay. So up on the upper patio, there was a fireplace, and in the fireplace, at the base of the fireplace, there is a hole, and the hole is a receptacle for a box of matches, right, which you keep in your fireplace.
Right.
So when it became a coffee shop, that box of matches, the content started to change. People would start putting little notes in there and like little poems and origami cranes, coins. And I found this was really interesting. Somebody even stuck a tampon further in the back, which I thought was kind of smart, that they knew where it would be if they needed it. So one day I came back, and there was a group of women sitting around the coffee table with the box on the coffee table with the contents spread out on the table. So I said, hey ladies, what's up? And they're like, I'm not kidding you. This is what they said. We're the sisterhood of the box. Are you fucking? That's what we are. The sisterhood of the box, and we meet once a year on the patio.
What?
And we gather for coffee, and we interpret the contents of the box to see where we're at, what direction it's going to tell us. And I thought, like Delphic oracles, right?
Oh my God.
So I thought, well, this is interesting. So, and as a teacher, you're supposed to always follow the kids' leads and interests, and then you build on that. That's called an emergent curriculum. Okay. So I thought, okay, I'll go with this. So I said, well, next time you come back, I find this fascinating. This is happening with the box and this interactive piece. Right. So down in the corner of the shop down there was a part of the foundation was, when we were doing a remodel, the foundation was exposed of the building next door. It had always been exposed. And the contractor wanted to blast it out or something, or chip it out. I said, no, let me sculpt around it and make all these little receptacles and little places for people to live. I think it's called memento mori memento, where you leave little relics and things behind. So that's what it was, a reliquary. So a reliquary is usually used for religious objects, but I kind of made this secular, right? Because I wanted to be inclusive, so it was non-denominational. Even with Holy Grounds, that's why I try to keep a lot of different religious things in the yard, representations, but not to do it disrespectfully where it becomes ornamentation. So how do you do representation without it being? So how do you put a Buddha into the yard without it looking like
you're trying to use it for decoration, right?
So, like the Virgin of Guadalupe, well, I'm Catholic, so I can have some latitude with that a little bit. Right. But still, how do you do these things? So I was trying to find like non-secular things. Like I made some cement. I took some gloves and I filled them with cement. And then it was like a mold, and then I had the hands left. So then I had the two hands in this reliquary. But of course, they're holding rosary beads and other things, right? So anyway, I'm inviting people to add to it. Right. So there's all these little boxes in there. And I would like to have shown you what they look, for you to read some of the little things that people are writing and leaving in there. Yeah. They're really quite fascinating.
Have you read everything?
I can't stay on top of it. No. There is a lot. And it's not so, and somebody says, oh, should you publish it? And I don't think it's something to even publish. Right. I think it's something like, it's kind of like the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem, where they put the prayers in the wall. I watch it. When I look at the little notes, I feel like I'm a privileged eavesdropper. But I feel like then put it back. Yeah. Like leave it the way you found it. Right. And that's the most respectful thing you could do.
Yeah, I think so too. There's like this garden in Pasadena that they also have like people write little notes and like letters, and they leave them. And, some people are nosy, including like me. So
we all want to look and see what
I'm like, what are people writing
about? Because they're fun little stories.
Yeah. And there's a story of some little kid that was writing to their dad. I guess they were in like war or something, and it's just like it's very like grounding to see like what other people are like thinking about, and like what they're worried about, and I don't know, I think it's a beautiful feeling.
It gives me a framework to see that I can think like that too. Like, oh, that's an interesting model. That they can say these prayers, or how they're addressing. Well, for me, I also like to find out how they're addressing the deity involved. Yeah. So are they praying to Mary, or are they just putting the prayer out there, or are they being specific? Sure. So something was being lit up. So
I think that's a beautiful thing to have here, though, because it also brings like a sense of community into the business.
Right. Okay. So when I was a kid, I remember there was a grocery store where I grew up, Nick's Grocery, and Nick behind the counter, this old man Nick everybody had their school pictures from grade school. They'd put them in. Nick would have the school pictures up on that wall, thumbtacked on the back. And of course, over the years, there was hundreds, but you always knew where your picture was.
Yeah.
And that's why it was fun to go there.
Yeah.
And with the shop, I really tried to replicate that. Like when we just saw Benin walking in,
Mm-hmm.
it was very important for me to have his artwork hanging on the wall.
Right.
That was, but I ran after school programs for years, so that's why
you knew how to build it and
it was a logical extension.
Yeah.
A coffee shop is an after school program for adults.
It really is.
And a good after school program is a safe space.
Right.
It's an opportunity for social engagement, an opportunity for creative expression.
Right.
It's the same thing in a coffee shop. I did the same stuff. I wanted a coffee shop that was safe for LGBTQ youth.
Right.
I wanted it to be, or just LGBTQ community.
Uh-huh.
I wanted it safe for women in the neighborhood, because a lot of young women, where do they go? There aren't bars.
Right.
And then also just for young people who can't drink because 18 between 21. What do you do when you're 18 and 19? You're on a date.
Yeah.
And also that patio was really conducive for a lot of internet dates.
Yeah. No, I've only been to Holy Grounds
really
probably like maybe twice.
Where you met Jesse.
Yeah, that's where we fell in love.
You fell in love then.
Yeah.
Right?
And
they lived happily ever after.
Yes. And the thing is that everybody that I know or went to school with, I went to Alhambra, and I knew a lot of people like in Lincoln Heights and El Sereno. How old am I? I'm 30. I'm going to be 31.
Okay. So you don't know Ryan Alvarado, do you?
No.
Okay.
But
because I know a lot of kids in this community.
The
parents they don't want them to go to Wilson.
Yeah.
So they would send them to Alhambra High School.
Oh, okay.
Because it was safer high school.
Right.
So a lot of just around here. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to take a break? I'm good. I got bad lungs.
Is this my weed or is this yours?
Oh, that's my weed.
Okay.
He's like, what is this?
No, it's a nice
shit?
No, it's a nice change.
Yeah, so a lot of people I knew just like went here and they like knew you, or like they knew they just like this was like their little home, their second home.
But for all the good reasons. I mean, I also arrived here in the middle of the gentrification issues.
Yeah.
So, and when you're a gay white guy opening a coffee shop, that's something right out of stereo. That's out of central casting.
But I think
but it wasn't my fault. I was living here in this property with my ex-husband. I was working downtown at Pueblo Los Niños for 10 years. I was there, provided services for after school services for underserved community. We were serving 5,000 kids a day.
Yeah.
I've earned my seat at the table.
Hell yeah.
In the community.
I think you have.
Living here, and then I was also on the neighborhood council for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We started the Kite Fest, Mike, and they made the gay guy be the committee chair for the arts and culture, right? Because that's what we're good at.
Yeah, kids are good at arts and culture.
Right. If there was a decorating committee, they would have had me on that. But you know what? We started the Kite Festival because I would ask people around here, "What do you remember growing up? What was your experiences growing up here?" And they remember flying kites. So it was like, okay, let's do a family kite festival, and it's been continuously running as a success. And then we started the Day of the Dead art walk up on Huntington Drive. That started through our committee.
Nice.
That was fun.
Well, because originally my question was...
what was it again? Because I took that hit up.
I don't even remember, but I was just going to go back to I wanted to know your intention for Holy Grounds because I wasn't sure if you wanted the community to be like a thing.
Got it. So I was working downtown, again, running after school programs, got laid off. I was living with my ex-husband, and literally I had to find some way to pay the mortgage. That's just it. We got to pay the mortgage.
Yeah.
So out front, I'm walking the dog and I'm just thinking, what am I going to do? Yeah. And literally, and I say my prayers, I'm a spiritual person. So, and I knew that God was showing, and literally everybody was on my side of the street driving into town. So all these are like this neighborhood. Well, this street in particular are old industrial buildings that were owned, that had their peak in the 30s and 40s and 50s. And then they've all left. All those jobs have all gone to China or South America. Mm-hmm. So they're not coming back. This is all light industrial. Also, for even environmental reasons, they shouldn't be here because they were really toxic industries. So anyway, those are gone. So I'm thinking, what can I use? But it's a heavy commuter route. So everyone's on my side of the road in the morning. So I'm thinking, coffee.
Right.
That's literally, it was based on that all I get the morning traffic driving by. And based on that is when I started coffee.
Okay.
So And then what happened was I was only going to do the coffee shop in the morning, close up at 11, and then go back to after school programming.
Yeah.
From 2 till, I work from, so after school's from like 2, and then you work, well, you start at 10, but then they're done. You work later in the afternoon, you finish by 8. Mm-hmm. So what happened was people kept saying, oh, can we go in your backyard? And I'd be like, well, if you're responsible, pick up after yourself. Teacher response, right? Okay, yeah, we will. So then they're back there, and then it just took on longer and longer, and people kept hanging out there, and then it just took on. Then people wanted to start playing music back there and doing art, and then we had then it became an open mic night, and then it became a community center is what happened.
Yeah,
it became the after school program, and there was never a point to have to leave, and then it just got bigger and bigger. And then it got very successful. And here's the thing. So, if you wanted to talk, if I wanted to keep us in something I've been thinking about lately.
Tell me, what have you been thinking about?
What I've been thinking about, what the fuck has this all been about? Because I'm 65 years old. Uh-huh. So I sold the shop 2 years ago, and I'm retired, right? So now at 65, I've got all this data to analyze. What were these common denominators in my life? What were the themes? What was going on? And I say this with confidence, not conceit. I really have always wanted to see people succeed. So, and I think the root of this is I grew up near. So I grew up in Connecticut, but we grew up on our house was bordering a salt marsh, and on the other side of the salt marsh was a city dump. So we used to drag all the kids. I was also the baby boomer, so there was lots and lots of kids, lots of kids. Mm-hmm. And so this big salt marsh was just this big, kids were always having bridges, and because it was a swamp, and there's islands and building forts. So we're always dragging stuff out of the dump and building forts. So it was always about finding stuff and seeing what the possibility, what you could do with this. And then you create these worlds, and then you create scenarios in these worlds to play with. So I had a really good childhood in that respect, a lot of free time with a lot of resources, and a lot of unsupervised time also, where adults did not know where the fuck you were.
Yeah.
Whereas you're in the morning and you just come home at night, and that was okay.
Those were different times.
It was a different time.
Yeah.
So it was just called just be responsible. Don't get into trouble. Don't take candy from strangers. That was really don't take candy from strangers was the big one. If someone says get in the car, I've got candy. That would be but you're not gonna fall for that, are you? It's that was it was never a school shooting or anything else, or abduction and those were never introduced.
Right.
So anyway, so I think so again, when I was working with kids later, when I got older, and then even working with adults, because I worked with kids for a long time, but then I became a supervisor. So what happens, I've also got to start thinking about this. I actually worked with young adults who supervised kids for a very long time. Uh-huh. So I had 82 counselors, or teachers underneath me. So, and they were all, child development. It was a part-time job. It's a good job to have while you're in school. And it's also a good job that if you're thinking of working with kids to be a teacher, you should really go be working after school programming.
I have worked I worked at LA's Best.
Oh, yeah. That's what I did.
Okay.
I ran LA Best programs.
Nice.
So I ran 10 of them.
Oh, wow.
160 kids at each site would be the average. So it was a lot of kids. So with no resources, but you know what? I'm resourceful and I can find stuff. So we did a really good program, and then also we created a curriculum. Mm-hmm. I used to work with severely emotionally disturbed kids a long time ago. I'm just off on it. And what happened was a lot of them were. It was a job I got when I got out of college. It was not a job I did not want to do, but it was the only job I could get. I was resentful about it. But I was working with a lot of emotionally disturbed kids, and they were all kids of color. Right. And I remember I came to a conclusion that how was I going to teach these kids, a white man of privilege is going to teach these kids coping skills. These are kids that are taken, these are babies that were removed from their mothers at birth and put in foster homes. And they're 5 years old, and they'd have these tantrums and be like, motherfucking bastard bitch, get the fuck. That's not organic. You've heard that.
Right.
So, and that's, so this is all, and also my, educational, I had a very liberal, I went to a really good school about indigenous curriculums and about authenticity and, even in ourselves and in the curriculum.
Did you go to college over here?
Yeah, I went to Pacific Oaks.
Okay.
Which is a big, very liberal college. I mean, their basic philosophy is that if you're not a white Christian male, you are not a member of the dominant society and you are institutionally marginalized in subtle and unsubtle ways. And I get that.
Yeah.
And so as a child development, you're supposed to always be looking for it. The responsibility as an early childhood educator is that you're looking for the ways that it's presented in children's literature and the messages we give kids.
Right.
So, and then you're hyper aware of it.
Yeah.
And doing all this stuff. So
I was a sociology major, so I'm like hyper aware of like everything or, you know, that happens.
Right.
And
so you might be interested in this part as an artist.
Yeah.
I know you're creative as well.
Uh-huh.
So we did this curriculum. So what we would do is I had a list of, so it was based on values.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt that if I can't tell you the values, whose values should you incorporate? Well, obviously your parents and your community. So I came up with this project called MVP, my values project.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a list of 100 values. I got it actually from a church somewhere, but it was actually a great thing to come. Oh, a coincidence?
Yeah.
You know, but it was like every value, like perseverance, hospitality, respect. I'm going blank. And then it was, so I had one sheet in English and the other side I had it in Spanish.
Uh-huh.
And we would ask the parents at the beginning of the school year to identify the top 4 values. And based on those values, I would ask the teachers to create a curriculum around that. But mind you, I'm working with young adults who don't even have their values in the town.
Yeah.
So this got double, you know, so we had to have a lot of so I would do a lot of curriculum training on Fridays where we would do value exploration. And this is this is an after school program, but this got really interesting.
It sounds like
the kids, and then be like, well, where do you start with? And I believe that it all starts with a story. Mm-hmm. So I would always tell the kids, because the number one value identified by the parents was respect. Mm-hmm. And we were primarily immigrant parents, Latin immigrant parents from Mexico and Central America. We had a lot of Central American population. Mm-hmm. But respect was number. And it was interesting when we had programs later on, like in the outliers areas like Eagle Rock, and you had more second generation.
Right.
The other value replaced was gratitude. Parents felt the kids. So the first generation felt the kids needed to maintain the value of respect. And the second generation, the parents felt the kids they weren't grateful for what the parents had to do.
Right.
In the work.
That makes sense. Naturally.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's just a little window. That was an observation that's there. So we would have, I would always ask the kids, ask the teachers, ask the parents where they learned respect. Right. And then that's your story. And then out of that story, storyboard it, make a comic book out of it, make a play out of it. And then just that's and just see where it goes.
Yeah.
And then have fun with it. And then show me what you made when I come.
It's crazy because like listening to you and knowing that like you have a background of like being a teacher and like you even saying like this like business was kind of like even after school program that you're running and like seeing like the customers as like children in a way, not like in a disrespectful way, but like just like allowing the freedom of like creative expression.
We're all on an artistic journey, and we're all on a journey of self. Even whether you're a 4-year-old or whether even a 25-year-old, you're still figuring it out. Yeah. I mean, when does it stop? I'm 65 and I'm fucking figuring it out.
And it's just like tying it all together, and it's just like you created such a wonderful thing here.
So as a teacher, especially in an after-school program where you don't give lessons, my job is to provide the tools. Yeah. You see, so you create the environments that are conducive to learning and are conducive to feeling secure in a place. So you said it feels homey, conducive to interaction with the pieces, things that engage you. Visual acuity is also very good for learning how to read. So you want to have little things like that that are around. Yeah. Reflective, and then people feel a sense of belonging. And also from a business sense, it also means customers are going to come back and buy more.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's another, if they're invested in the place, there's a common sense size that then it's capitalism, yes, but it's also called sustainability. You got to pay the rent,
right?
So and even if you had an after school program, you got to say how we're going to pay for the program.
Exactly. And I think that's a cool thing. And like, I think real gentrification is when you don't you just like. Like, what did you want to do when you graduated?
My sister had a baby at 16, and no, she was pregnant at 16, and I was 2 years older, so I was 18. So she was 18, which we were young. There was a bunch of teenagers with a baby. I had a bong on one. I had a baby. I was bouncing a baby on one knee, and I had a bong on the other. Yeah. So and my nephew, and be like, oh. Let's put the baby's feet in the toilet and flush it. Well, I mean, clean, and then so have a sensory experience around his feet. Or let's play baby airport. You know, and a baby's coming in for a landing, and or
baby airport.
Let's put shaving cream on the table and have baby make letters and shapes in the shaving cream and have a tactile experience, learning squares and circles and triangles, writing letters. So what happened was when I came to California, I missed my nephew a lot. He was 5 years old, and because he was so. This is another tangent we're going. So okay. I always had these male shadows. So, and I think it's the uncle vibe that I put out.
Yeah,
and I think
you're a Tio
nephew, right? Right. And think about what the role of a Tio is in a family.
Yes.
The uncle is the one who watches the kids. Parents don't want, are my kids using condoms? I don't want to ask them. You go ask them. Yeah. That's what the uncle does, or the aunt does cool that, uncle, right? Because you're the intermediary.
Yeah.
That's what the after school guy is. I'm the intermediary between the school, the parents, and the kids.
So true.
Right. So when the kids would swear, I'll give you an example. I'm not going to tell a kid, it was saying, I'm overhearing him say, fuck. Yeah. I'm going to say, that's bad. You shouldn't do that. That's inappropriate, right? So I'll say, read the room.
Right.
That's the expression, read the room. That's going to slip out sometime. So, or I'll say, are you allowed to talk like that at home? If he's even saying fuck to me, not even going to hear it. I'm going, you talk at home? Yeah, you're my mom. I can do that. I'll say, okay, I'll ask your mom when she comes. You're allowed to ask. Right. So, we'll go. And then 5 till 6 before they get picked up, then he'll tell me, I'm not really allowed to say that at home. Then I didn't think so. You promise not to say it again. Do you know what I mean? So that's that.
That's a cool uncle thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's
like
what
you're
we
teaching something, but you're not like scolding them or anything.
You're guiding them, giving them tools. You're doing that after school environmental steering. We steer. It's funny. In after school, I think we steer kids. We don't instruct.
Right.
And I think even as that's what I'm telling you. These are these themes that I see working with kids and working with young adults and working as a supervisor of the coffee shop. I think it was a lot of steering. It was things I didn't do directly. Like, watch, we would do, I can tell you this, how the overlap of the after school program.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'd come into the shop on Saturdays and I'd go, oh, it's a good day out there. Everyone's creating on the patio. We'd have these block print workshops and I'd be like, everyone's on task. You know what I mean? It's like it's a coffee shop, but I'm thinking everyone's plugged into people are conversing near the fountain. There's the employees are happy and people are, and there's just good vibe. And I thought, it's a really good thing. So you see, I mean, that gives me joy. That gives me genuine joy to have that happen. So there is something selfish I get out of it.
Right.
And but that was truly these moments of when you're supposed to be looking at what are these moments of bliss or these moments where things were really working.
Yeah.
And that would be one of the moments that it was really working. I like seeing people be successful at their jobs. And I like seeing kids be successful. Eddie, who used to work with me for years, I want to see him be successful as the owner of the shop. I want to see, and I think I've done that with the kids I worked with. I think I can honestly say that I'm invested. I would like to see you be successful with a podcast. I help Aaron with his shroom business.
Yeah.
And Hector, I get nothing out of that. The fact that he's got his own business and he's paying the rent with that. Why wouldn't you want to put your energy behind that? That's a good thing. So,
he's doing,
so I get a rush off that, even just saying. So when we align ourselves with good, right action, we get a dopamine rush. And it's also, I think that God shines upon us a little bit and he wants us to do that. And so I think maybe that's why we get the dopamine rush or dopamine angels or something could descend on us.
But it's not a bad thing. It's very wholesome in a way because they're getting something good and so are you, and it's kind of just
mutually beneficial.
Yeah, in a way. So did it ever get overwhelming here? Is that why you kind of stepped back from it?
So I lucked out years ago when I was with my ex-husband. We bought a cabin up in Treasure Park.
You drank my water.
I did.
It's okay.
Did I smoke pot with you? So it was the same cooties.
It's fine.
It's like I'll be smoking a joint with someone, and then all of a sudden they'll get upset if I drink other water. And I think we just experienced. I mean, right? Think about it. Smoking a joint with someone is really right. Yeah. We basically just kissed everybody in the room.
Basically,
we just French kissed you.
And the people that are eating us, you basically, you
don't know what the fuck I was doing before this.
Exactly.
Right.
So
I had a date.
We're all friends.
No, I did not. I wasn't doing that.
Okay, so the question I asked you is, did it ever get overwhelming over here? You said you lucked out.
So I bought the cabin. So we lucked out. So years ago, I was in a lucky situation with my ex-husband, and we bought a place up in Fraser Park. Fraser Park's a mile and a half, an hour and a half up the freeway.
Mm-hmm.
It's at 4,700 feet. I have this pine trees. It snows. It's amazing. I can leave here at 6 o'clock and be pulling at my driveway at 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a completely different world. I could be living in Colorado. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
When I walk my dog here, I walk him along the train tracks. As an urban experience, I'm up there. I walk him on a dirt trail in the woods. That's weird.
Yeah.
It's just like two down
different
here.
Environments.
I've got people 24/7 when the coffee shop was open.
Right.
It used to be open until 10 at night, and so it was open from 6:30. Was it 6:30 or 7? I think it was open 7. I think we tried 6:30. No, it was too. There was not enough people, but it's open. You'd get here at 6:30 to have it open by 7.
Mm-hmm.
So even that was hard for staff sometimes. I used to have staff that would sleep, that would party the night before. Seriously, and they would come in at 3 o'clock and just crash on the inside the shop and sleep in there. Because I'd walk in the mornings and I'd be like, Michael would be sleeping on and I'd be like, Michael, get up, go brush your teeth. And then you'd be like, get to work. It'd be like having people sleep in the factory, like in India, they sleep in the factory around the machines.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed the staff. We had fun times. We would go after work. We would do night hikes, and again, I'm 65. When I opened the shop, so I had it 10 years ago. I was 55 years old.
Yeah.
And I was with even guys. I mean, these kids are all in college. It's another generation. Because I used to have to put everything through a filter. Is it generational? Is it cultural?
Yeah.
Is it educational? Like with vocabulary or experiences or other references.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it was different ones or all of them. But it was fun. I mean, me and the dog would be like, I'd say, Scam, we're going to go hiking with the boys and girls from the shop. And we'd all smoke a lot of pot and then go on these hikes, go on these night hikes up in Mount Wilson. And it was really fun. The city lights would be below you and the full moon would light up the trail. And I'd be thinking, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Because I remember thinking, my ex would be thinking, man, you really got a problem. And I'd be thinking, why? And I'd be thinking, what's the problem?
Right.
I mean, I was happy. It was healthy. We'd just be talking on the trail. It was just good. Everyone had a good time. And then at work, it was fun because everybody would be joking. And it was good. We really had a good time. And again, everybody was they were doing good with the tips. And here's the thing that was funny. Also being a teacher, I would delegate out different jobs to different. So if I knew somebody was good at social media,
right,
I would try to find your little skill. So this way you had an investment in the shop.
Yeah.
So like if you were good at so one girl was really good at bookkeeping. So I had her be, I gave her she did the payroll, the checks and stuff. And then somebody else was good at social media. And so, and she really wanted to do that because she thought she'd like maybe be an event planner.
Right.
So that was an opportunity. Somebody else, one guy was a comedian and he did the comedy shows. Mm-hmm. So he had a whole little stage and then he was doing the flyers and all this stuff. And it was fun to see him be successful with that. And I enjoyed, and even the people I would hire in the kitchen, there was one guy who used to work here he told me he wanted to be a chef. And I was like, man, we're going to build a kitchen. And we built this kitchen in the back. And I said, you can create the menu and do whatever you want. I said, and this way, if the shop's got a good reputation, you've got the reputation that it created and it goes with it. And then you could have your own catering business.
That's amazing.
And say that I did this. But you know what? I think it was overwhelming for him.
Oh, okay.
In hindsight, now I'm thinking because he wasn't able to do it. So,
oh no.
Well, there's the thing. That's I also have to remember that a lot of kids also show up thinking they could do things. And sometimes, you can't always do what you think you could do, or you're not aware of the work that it involved.
That's true. Yeah.
Like with a coffee shop, a lot of people think, it's really easy. Steve can open it. If Steve's doing it, anyone else can do it. It looks easy.
I think you just make it look easy, but it like clearly from just like these few minutes, it just sounds like you put a lot of details into everything, and
the way that I did
like
it,
aware of it.
Yeah. It's a lot of scheduling. It's a lot of interface with other people. It's a lot of notes. It's a lot of communicating.
Right.
And you have to keep everybody. There's more problems in life that happen from not communicating than communicating too much. So I'd rather overtalk it, and then no one could ever say to me, I wish you told me that.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's something you can't say about me.
I think that's one of like the biggest problems right now in like younger people's lives is they don't know how to communicate with each other, and then so a lot of things are like left unsaid, and then people, misinterpret things because there's no communication going on, and everyone's only communicating through social media now. And
well, what's interesting at work too, this is something, an interesting tool I would I don't know where I picked this up. I said sometimes it's good to think out loud.
mm-hmm.
It says, to create a culture where people are thinking out loud. Because watch, this way if I say, so I'm working in the kitchen and I've got to go in the back to go get mayonnaise.
Yeah.
I don't have to ask you if I can go, but think of the difference when I say, I'm going in the back to get mayonnaise.
Mm-hmm.
Now we all know where you are.
Right.
Now you didn't have to ask permission, but you were thinking out loud. And by thinking out loud, it's just more effective communication.
True, yeah.
So that's why you have to start a culture of that.
Mm-hmm. Have you always been like that, or did you learn that?
That's something I learned as a teacher.
That's
something else to think about. Also, if you're a house painter, so when I was younger and I used to hitchhike a lot,
mm-hmm.
Painting is a job you can pick up when you're traveling.
Okay.
Because you can think about it.
You just do it.
Makes sense,
anywhere.
right? You do it and then you move on. So, and also when I was a teacher, when I was working with a lot of kids, think about it. It's quiet. You got the headphones on. And it's really a nice alternative.
Right.
I would burn out on these. Also, I've worked for nonprofits a lot of times that would get closed down.
Mm-hmm.
So but I always liked that because I could get unemployment.
Yeah.
And if I got unemployment, then I could do house painting on the side. I would always be okay. Or, that's how you travel. It's like, oh, God's telling you time to go on, do something else for a while. And then you can always go back. So
did you, at some point, like early on, did you ever get like stressed when like the nonprofits would close down?
Well, this is also the other factor. Because I'm a gay man, I don't have children.
Mm-hmm.
I can do this. And also, I want to say this and not jinx myself. I've been blessed. I'm good with managing money. Okay. I don't have any, but I'm really good at managing it. Mm-hmm. I used to find stuff from the dump.
Yeah.
And I work in nonprofits. So it's like, I'm sustainable.
Yes.
I can look around this room.
All of this
it's all stuff. Yeah. Everything is found.
Yeah.
That fucking picture frame is found in the garbage. Everything is found.
This is
that
huge.
Chair. This is a rocking chair with the rocker off it.
Oh my God.
The rocker's off. And I brought it home. I'm waiting for 3 years for it to fall apart, thinking, okay, it's still together. This is a chair my mother was throwing. The only way we could get her to throw it away was I said, oh, I'm going to bring it home and use it. And then I threw a blanket, and it's going in the garbage soon. So anyway, the point of that was, what was it?
I don't remember. I think I said, why are you laughing?
Do you remember?
I have ADHD, so you're taking me on a trip, and like, I'm all over the place too.
Right,
but
right.
He also has ADHD.
Finding things. Being a painter, finding things.
Being resourceful.
Why I was quiet. Why I was nice to paint. I'd burn out. Nonprofits.
Oh,
what was it like to live?
I said, did it ever stress you out when like nonprofits would close down?
And that's why
like,
a lot of people don't choose. That's why people wouldn't usually be in the job that I was in.
Right.
And a lot of agencies. So here's the other reality. This is not interesting to your viewers. I have a degree with a specialization for, you used to work in after school programs.
Mm-hmm.
I have a program director's permit.
Okay.
So to get these contracts from the State Department of Education, like a really big after school contracts, you have to have somebody signing off on these programs that actually have the units and the degree that I have.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my attraction for a lot of agencies, because also what happens if, say, a nonprofit agency also has like 8 after school programs, and it also has a lot of childcare programs, and the director leaves. Well, shit, someone's got to sign off on that license really fast.
Yeah.
Steve's got a permit.
So
you know what happened? A lot of times I'd find out that they were using my name on a permit before I knew about it. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to be financially reimbursed for that one.
Yeah.
Because that's not.
You had to take like legal action for that?
No. You just.
Did you, when you graduated, I think I asked this earlier, but.
Usually I would just take it in the forms of vacation.
Did you know you wanted to work with like kids though? Like why did you want to work with your nephew, right?
Right, and so then I missed my nephew, working with my nephew. I took a bite off a cookie while the question was being asked, thinking it would take longer to ask the question.
Yeah, I'm quick.
I missed my nephew. So I moved to California. I came out of the closet at 25. And I really missed my nephew. He was 5 years old. And somebody said they were working at a YMCA after school program. And I said, I never even considered that. So I didn't. what was I missed my nephew when I was here. Somebody's working an after school program, and I said, so I wanted to go try it out. So anyway, I never thought about it before. So I went to work with it. So I went to the YMCA, which was near my house in North Hollywood.
Yeah.
And the guy said, have you ever worked with kids before? And I said, no. He said, well, go to one of these after school. Go to one now over at Coldwater Avenue Elementary School and go check it out. So I went there. The kids were like, it was pandemonium. They were walking on the desks. The supervisor left me alone with the kids and walked out on the playground. I was like on the phone calling the director saying she needed assistance. And I thought, this is crazy. And this one little kid looks up at me and he goes, can you help me with my homework? And I said, okay. And I was helping. Then he says, well, you're going to come back tomorrow? And I said, okay. And I'm telling you, and that's how it all started. That kid's name was Paul.
How sweet.
I wonder what his last name was. I do wonder sometimes whatever happened with a lot of these. I would like to know what happened with a lot of the kids. Some of the kids I was asked to be their godfather. Because a lot of times, I would have some of these kids from 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. Seriously, during the summer or during the winter vacations, because we were open, we had to be open 12 hours.
So you bonded with a lot of the kids.
A lot of the times also where I was living, where I was working, a lot of the kids were foster kids. So they were. And you had the whole situations, right? So foster parents will have like 12 kids living with them, and they're usually older people,
right?
Because they're usually loving. They're in a place they can be home, but so the kids, to even give them a break, the kids would be with me. So I have all these foster kids from 6, or kids living with their grandparents. So sometimes one instance was when my mother got custody of the kids back, she wanted me to be the godfather when she was having them baptized. That was really sweet.
Did you ever want kids of your own?
I'm not their father. That's the important thing. So I'm waving my finger in the air.
Yeah.
That's that fine line. You're not their parent. Yeah. So you never tell a child that you love them.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Because that's a parent's job. It's like when
they get attached.
They love you. You don't love. The mailman does not love you. The teachers do not love you. Your parents love you. I like you. I value you, and you're very special. And I like you a lot.
Yeah.
But to love somebody, that's more like your mom and dad. Yeah. I think.
And you would always tell all the kids
even the same way I said it to you then was something I felt like that's the way I would say it to a kid. Yeah. And anything you say to a kid, remember how it's going to be repeated at the dinner table. Yes. And what it's going to sound like when it's repeated.
Yeah. And you need to use like the least amount of words too.
Well, to get the kids to clean up, I used to always say, pretend you're a thief and don't leave leave no forensic evidence that you were there. But I can't tell the kids, pretend that you're breaking into someone's house and that you're not leaving any evidence that you're there. So I used to say, pretend you're a spy, right?
That's a good one.
Right. And that you can't leave any evidence that you were there. And so I'd walk and say, oh, look, a cracker. Well, I could do a DNA test on this and see who was eating this snack cracker. And then the kids would say, because then when that's repeated at home, it's going to be, Steve told us that to pick up after ourselves, we should think we're spies. Now, a parent's going to go, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Right? Versus thinking think I'm a criminal. You know what I mean? It's like, so you have to remember what it's going to sound like.
Yeah, that's true. Did you ever want kids of your own?
No, I know I had stepkids. I was married for 12 years and I had joint custody of kids. To me, having kids is a lot of sandwiches and a lot of letting your kids watch more TV than you ever thought you would. Even my most liberal friends who said, my kids will never watch TV, are now watching more episodes of Rick and Morty, things that you know are not appropriate, but it gives you a little time. Yeah. Family Guy is not appropriate for kids to be watching. That's not a cartoon for kids.
I used to watch it when I was a kid.
I mean, the kids are,
my mom didn't know.
Watching. I remember thinking, if they repeated this shit at school, this is kind of shit I have to write a report on.
Yeah.
That you overheard a kid saying this.
We could end here.
Okay.
Because I know you got places to be.
Right.
But would you ever come back to do another episode? Because I feel like you have so much to say, and I didn't get to ask you everything.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's see how this one plays out first.
Yeah, let's hear it out.
You might get some really, who the fuck is that? Who is that guy pontificating? Offering unsolicited advice. Who the fuck does he think he is?
Yeah, so we'll have you back on.
I'll have you
back on. And thank you for being here. Thank you for agreeing to this.
Right.
Were you nervous at all to do this?
I was for a moment.
Okay.
And then I thought, you got this.
Yeah. And then I get nervous though. So I need to just hold it down. And I'm like, I'm not nervous.
also smoking weed also helps too. I mean, it's like being able to.
I have bad lungs, so I can't really smoke weed. So I really just have to do this all sober and raw.
Well, it was good that I was.
Terrible.
Well, thank you for letting me smoke weed.
I'd advise anyone to just do what they need to do.
Right, because you save you on a cocktail. And Bill Maher's having that. Isn't that show now where they're having a cocktail?
Yeah. I want to do that eventually once I have like maybe a studio or
You'll
something.
Get there.
Yeah.
I want to see you be successful. How can I help you be successful?
I don't know.
Whenever we used to have supervision meetings, I always ended with, how can I help you be successful?
I don't know. I think we probably have to have more conversations and then I can find like how you can help me.
Okay.
But
maybe tag stuff or something on, do you have an Instagram?
Yeah.
And what is your Instagram?
My Instagram is Alexis Wildcard. It's not attached to the podcast.
Is there one attached to the podcast?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not officially. I have the name, but like I haven't started like.
Well, one's auditory and one's visual.
Yeah,
they're two different. I guess so. That's a whole nother to make those.
I'm getting there. I'm working on it.
It's a creative challenge.
It's just a lot of work to put in for like the video and like promoting it and stuff. But I'm doing the baby steps right now.
Well, good luck with it all.
Thank you. Okay. And I hope you have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. We'll end here.
Oh, look, it was red all the time. I was kidding. Can you imagine?
I was like, no, it wasn't. I saw your sound waves.
Hold on, I just want to see somebody.